Thanks for staying with us this morning. We're at the Kansas Department of Agriculture office here in Manhattan. We're joined by Sandy Johnson. And Sandy, coming up here in the next week or so, we've got an emergency practice coming up that is really important to agriculture here in the state of Kansas.
Yes, it is. Every December, we do a large exercise with our staff here at the department. This year it's kind of unique. We are doing 4 days of exercise participation, and we have a lot of other folks joining us, but we try and do it every year this time of year because it's a little quieter. Mm-hmm. So we're not missing a lot of other things going on, and then it's a good opportunity for other folks at the local level, federal level, private practitioners. A lot of folks join us for this exercise that we like to try and do every year the week before Christmas.
And this year we're going to practice with, like we've got an outbreak of foot and mouth disease, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, this year the scenario is foot and mouth disease. We do foot and mouth disease as a scenario quite often, mostly because it's probably the worst thing that could happen. And so our thought is if we can respond to that, another disease or any kind of plant outbreak might be a little easier. And so it really taxes our resource. Yeah, and it really, when you use a scenario that's a challenge, it tests our planning and our staff, our plan, the way we communicate with industry and with other stakeholders. So it's a great scenario for us to use, and we're getting pretty good at it, I think.
Now, when we do, because this potentially could spread all across the U.S. I mean, we're talking about, because I see your list, one of my biggest concerns is we've got cattle moving down the road, KDOT being very involved, other states potentially being involved, of course K-State being involved and stuff like that. So walk us through the scenario.
Sure.
Do we pick a producer here in the state of Kansas and go, okay, here's where the outbreak started and move outward?
Yeah, we used to start with the outbreak starting in the state of Kansas probably about a decade ago, and we've sort of evolved to looking at if it starts someplace else. Mm-hmm. So in this scenario, it will start in another country, actually, in North America, and then the scenario will evolve to where it does get to Kansas. So we like to look at, because if it did happen in Canada or the state of Washington, obviously we wouldn't just go, oh, hope it doesn't come here.
Right.
We're going to be doing a lot of activities. And so we started to look at what are those things we're doing prior to investigating it in a farm or ranch in Kansas. And so that's how we'll start. And then it evolves to where we actually do some disease investigations here. And this year we actually have some feedlots and dairies that are participating with us, which is new. Mm-hmm. We've usually had to sort of simulate that. Right. So actually having producers play along with us will be extremely helpful for us to evaluate our plans and procedures and how well that works for industry as well.
Perfect. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to finish up with Sandy Johnson at the Kansas Department of Agriculture. You watch your kansasAGreport. We'll see you in just a minute.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail. Keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Thanks for staying with us. We're Sandy Johnson at the Kansas Department of Agriculture, and we're talking about basically emergency preparedness. And in our first segment, we talked about a potential foot and mouth disease outbreak that starts in another country, works its way into the U.S., and potentially works its way into the state of Kansas. And again, all of this is hypothetical. I said foot and mouth, Kansas. It's hypothetical. So I didn't want someone to tune in and go, oh my God. Anyways. All right, so walk us through the week, and we've got a really nice schedule. You laid everything out. Nothing happens when you think it's going to happen. Your scenarios, it happens over the weekend when you're really not prepared for it, and you're not thinking about it, and then boom, on Monday, you got to go.
Right. Most emergencies and disasters do happen on Friday night. So in our scenario this year, there will be a period of time over the weekend before we actually start through the scenario where things happened in other states and in another country. And so the idea is on Monday, our folks will get here and set up and start looking at what we would be telling the public, how we'd be communicating with veterinarians and producers on what's been going on in the country and what we've been doing here at KDA over the weekend. And so our scenario will be Monday. We will do some investigations at some of these locations that have volunteered to help us, and we're really excited about that. We'll be looking at real animal movements instead of just hypotheticals. We will go through the process of taking samples and sending them to the laboratory. We will communicate with our industry associations and their members. Tuesday, the state emergency operations center and some local emergency operations centers will be participating with us as they look at how we do traffic control, sample shipments, a lot of logistical things that happen on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we'll just continue with that scenario. And the neat thing about this year is for the first time, we're doing a recovery tabletop exercise with our partners, with other state agencies and some USDA partners on some of the recovery options available for businesses. So looking at if you're a producer and because of the economic issues associated with a disease outbreak like this, what kind of programs or things would be available to help you? And so really looking at, and not just the producer, but that community. If your entire county's economic structure is based on the cattle industry, what are those things? How can we help you get back to normal as quickly as possible? What can we as the state and obviously federal government, volunteer organizations, how do we look at all the programs that are out there and see what's possible, what's feasible, and kind of have that conversation, which we haven't really done. We've looked at natural disasters and then animal diseases separately, and this year we're putting them all together. So I'm excited about that part.
And we've only got about 15 seconds left, but once this is all done, will there be a report available on KDA's website?
Yep, we usually produce a report within 60 days of the exercise telling everyone what we learned and what we plan to do to improve our plans and procedures.
Which would be mid to late February, kind of somewhere around there. So.
Yeah, that's totally within the realm.
Yeah, perfect. Well, happy holidays. Good luck. I hope everything goes well.
Thanks.
You're watching Kansas Ag Report. We'll see you in just a minute. If you would like to advertise your business on Kansas Ag Report, give us a call, 785-580-3287.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.